would like to take this opportunity to thank Malaysia HR Forum for organizing this AHRP program. I'm also very thankful for the chance to meet many wonderful like-minded people here throughout the program.
Okay, so I also remember about the advice from the CEO of Malaysia HR Forum, which is Mr. Arulkumar. He always says about AKS, attitude, knowledge, and skill.
So first job, don't berkira-kira, work hard. The first 10 years of your working life, and what I've said the other day, the first 10 to 15 years of working life, it's all about hard work. So first job, grab what you can first, take it up, build your experience, build your competencies, learn the skills that you don't have today. The time will come when something will tell you that it is time to move on.
So you have to remember that having qualification doesn't really guarantee you a job, but it can land you with one. But for you to continue climbing the ladder, it's all about skills. And when we talk about skills, of course, not just soft skill, communication, writing, but relates to what you're doing.
What happened between that time until now? I never quit, never lie, and I never want to be somebody other than myself. So if you're a boring person, be boring. If you're an animated person, make sure that animation comes out. And if you're a person that is shy, so be it. The moment you lie, the moment you say you know things and you don't, that's when you won't get the job. At that rate, by the time you are 30, you're going to be having a salary of 7,000 ringgit. Congratulations. But 7,000 doesn't cut it in KL. Learn, continuously improve yourself. This AHRP paper is one of them. Continue to add stuff in your CV.
As a HR professional for many years, the AHRP program, the quality of candidate that we see today, they are well equipped with the confidence, the knowledge and skills of HR, what is it to be a HR person, and all of them coming from other background.
I'm very thankful for Malaysia HR Forum by giving us this opportunity to interview some candidates that they have trained in a 5-day program, and they also filtered the candidates based on their own requirements. And I would say that this is a fresh batch of candidates for us to interview. So it was good, and in a couple of days we will shortlist some candidates and hopefully to organize a second interview with them.
When I first saw it, I thought it was a really good idea to bring candidates together with a specific specialization, which is why I wanted to participate, because I've got HR needs that I'm looking for. So it was a good platform for me to meet a good pool of candidates who have a certification that I can work with. Some of them are meeting expectations. As an organization, I'm looking more towards the ability to communicate, looking at critical thinking, character and motivation of the people. So I think for the most part, I've met good people today.
Overall, it's a good experience to participate this HR Recruitment Day. And I think it's a very meaningful event that helps the fresh graduates out there to have the employment opportunity. Overall, I find the session very fruitful, and we managed to get a few good candidates, and we are going to shortlist for the second interview with our company.
At HRD Corp, ladies and gentlemen, we are deeply honored to be invited as a strategic partner for this conference. This conference stands as a beacon of innovation and forward thinking set against the backdrop of a rapidly evolving
Okay, so good afternoon. Are you all able to hear me or you're able to see me? If yes, give me a yes. Are you all able to see me and you're able to hear me? No sound? Okay, good. Thanks a lot. Okay, so today is our part two or second session of the webinar on minimum wage, which has been announced by the Prime Minister quite recently, as well as to touch a little bit on Employment Act, some of the critical amendments. Now, before I begin, I think many of you all do know me. My name is Arul, and I'm attached to the Malaysia HR Forum, and I've had good experience working in large companies, and now I'm doing consulting, training, and being your advisor whenever you all run into some issues and you need help. So thanks a lot for joining us today. Before I begin, I would like to encourage all of you all, if you are not yet a member of the HR Forum, some of you all may not be a member yet, please scan the QR code that you see on the screen right now. Join our Facebook community. You'll be joining over 47,500 members in the HR community. The HR community consists mainly of HR professionals, some business leaders, business owners, and anyone who's interested to learn up more on HR, IR, and many other things. So when you join this our Facebook community, you will have access to tons of policies, documentation, HR tools, guidelines. We discuss a lot of topics on HR, IR, EA, on talents and whatnot. Free webinars like what you're going through today. So these are some of the benefits that we have in our HR community. So do join us. Click the QR code, right? And the link is there as well. Okay, before I go into our topic for today, I would like to just run through one favorite slide of mine, which I think is useful to you as well. And it can be useful to you if you can also use this when you are presenting any topics to your management, to your employees. So this slide simply says this: if you think compliance is expensive, try non-compliance. So in other words, what this statement says, when we follow the law, when we comply, it is cheaper than we choose not to comply. Right? Let me give you one simple example to understand this context. It is now, roughly about 10:35 or so, and let's say at this moment you want to, run to the kopitiam or to one of the convenient mart, let's say KK or Speed Mart, 7-Eleven. You want to grab something, or you want to go and pay your bills. You park your car at the roadside. Maybe you park your car illegally somewhere without putting a summon. You make a quick dash because you think that at this moment, 10:35, I don't see any Majelis guy, Dewan Bandaraya guy not here. So why not we just quickly dash through? Maybe we come back, we can save 60 cents. So when you make this trip and then when you come back to the car, you realize there's a summon on your screen. And we chose not to be compliant. If we were compliant, the cost would have been 60 cents or so, roughly. But because we choose not to be compliant, now we end up having to pay either 10, 20, 30, or whatever the rates, different town council charges. So this is a statement, to understand this context better. Compliance, if we were compliant, 60 cents. Because we choose not to be compliant, we now have to pay more than 60 cents. And it's just not the money, but the time. In order to pay the summon, we have to open up the app. Maybe you want to go line up at the town council or their website. Whereas if you were to put the 60 cents, opening up your car park app, and within a few seconds, your ticket is on, right? So compliance is cheaper than non-compliance. So later part of today, we're going to share these slides in Facebook. I would encourage you to download this. And if you can, just this one page, put this as one of your front slides, one of your initial slides when you're presenting any HR topics, your management, your employee, and so on. So make this as a mantra. Now, the slides we're sharing today, we will not be emailing to you. You will be receiving an email from us, thanking you for joining the webinar for today. There will be a link in that email, and the link will bring you to our Facebook community where you can download these slides. So this will be done today or latest tomorrow. Okay, and I would like to encourage you all to hang on. There's a small announcement that we'll be making later part of this webinar. So do stay on until we end. Okay, so let us talk about the minimum wage. Now we know that the Prime Minister during the budget announcement, he has made the statement. He has made an announcement that the minimum wage is going to increase from 1,005 to 1,007, right? And so what exactly is minimum wage? Now we need to refer back to the NWCC Act. NWCC is the National Wages Consultative Council Act, right? So this is a council that deliberates what should be the minimum wage, right? They do all the discussion, the research, and so on, and present this finding to the government, and the government makes a final decision. So the NWCC Act says this, that minimum wages, when we say minimum wage, is the basic wages, right? And when we talk about wages, wages is has the same meaning when we look at wages in Section 2 of EA, Section 2 of Sabah Labour Ordinance, and Section 2 of Sarawak Labour Ordinance. So some of you all, if you may not be aware of, Peninsular Malaysia and Labuan, we follow Employment Act. Sabah, they have their own ordinance, which is called Sabah Labour Ordinance, and Sarawak has the Sarawak Labour Ordinance. So when we say wages, it follows the same meaning as wages, the definition of wages in each of these act or ordinances. Now, as long as an employee, with a contract of service or employment contract, right? I believe most of you are listening today, you would have an employment contract or contract of service. So as long as anyone has a contract of service, they're hired with a contract of service, whether it's written or in oral, you would be bound by this minimum wage. However, at this moment, apprentice contract, those employees who are apprentice, they come for training, work-based training, etc. They are not part of the definition of employees under NWCC. But I believe many of you all would have heard some news recently that the NWCC Act is, the government is looking at amending it to remove, or shall I say, to include apprentice as part of the definition of employees under the NWCC Act. So when we look at Employment Act includes apprentice contract. However, in the NWCC Act, apprentice is not included. So if, let's say, the minimum wage goes live today, then apprentice are not included. So the minimum wage, we all know, is going to kickstart on the 1st of February 2025. So we will need to wait till then to see whether this amendment takes place or not. So till then, we just wait. And this applies to employees who are full-time employees, part-time employees. So full-time employees are those employees who are working or who works 70% of 45 hours or more. So anyone who works more than 70% of our basic hours, which is 45, they are full-time employees. So I believe most of you all are full-time employees. Those employees who are hired after they retire, they are also full-time employees if they work more than 70% of 45 hours. So that's one. The second category is part-time employees. Part-time employees are those employees who work between 30% to 70% of full-time hours. So, if you hire someone to come and work on weekends, on some days, etc., so long as their work hours is more than 30%, but less than 70% of the total 45 hours, they are defined as part-time employees. But sometimes we get confused. Some employees may come in on and off, on and off. They don't have a contract, etc. They may not be called part-time. So it is very important to define your group of employees very clearly. So you've got full-time employees, you've got part-time employees, and the other category, which we sometimes we confuse thinking that they are part-timers, they are called casual employees. So casual employees are those employees, who work less than 30% of 45 hours. So casual employees are not covered under minimum wage simply because they are not defined as employees. Domestic servants are also not included, right? So this is what the minimum wage NWCC Act says so. Now, later part, when you get this slide, you will have this link. If you look at the bottom, the yellow orange box at the bottom, there is a link to download the NWCC Council Act from the Labour Department's website. So later part is good for every HR practitioner to run through this act at least one time, just to understand, what the act is trying to tell us. And so minimum wages is defined as basic salary, right? And it does not include allowances, incentives, or any other additional payment. So this is purely the basic salary. So if, let's say, if an employee is paid basic salary, and on top of that he's given, let's say, attendance allowance, a meal allowance, transport allowance. Now all these allowances should not be part of the 1,005 today, or starting 1st February, it cannot be part of the 1,007. So the 1,007, which is being, which will take place next year, it has got to be purely the basic salary and nothing else, right? So the orange box is taken from the recent FAQ produced by the NWCC, council. So whatever I'm going to share with you today, a small disclaimer, whatever I'm going to share with you today, majority of the information is taken from the NWCC FAQ that was produced and shared quite recently. So I'll share with you a copy of it later. So it's good to go through that. We know that the final order has not been produced yet, has not been published yet. So we need to wait also for the final gazetted order in order to understand better. So whatever we are sharing today is based on what we already know, but yet to include the final gazetted order that will be issued in due time. So as we all know, right, minimum wages will take effect on 1st February 2025. And the government also gives a little bit of time for companies with less than 5 employees. It is good if you can start on 1st February, but you have until 1st August to implement it if you want to delay a little bit, because smaller companies, they may not have the financial means. So let me go through one by one. The first box on the top, 1st February, any company that employs 5 people or more. So if you have employees numbering 5, 6, 7, 8 and more, and beyond that, you must start on 1st February 2025, not 1st August, right? 1st February, companies with more than 5. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and above, you start on 1st February 2025. And if your business, right, if your company is carrying out professional activities that is classified under the Malaysia Standard Classification of Occupations, or short form we call it MESCO, if your company is involved in activities listed in MESCO, then it does not matter whether you have 5, 3, 2, 1 or more, you would also have to start on 1st February 2025. So let me repeat again. Who must start on 1st February 2025? Number one, companies that employs more than 5 people. That means 5, 6, 7 or more. You must start on 1st February 2025. And the second category are those companies who are listed under MESCO's list of occupation or professional activity. In this case, it doesn't matter how many, even if you have 3 employees, but you are listed under your list of your professional activity listed under MESCO, you must also start on 1st February 2025, right? So these two categories, 1st February. The other category is companies with smaller numbers, less than 5, right? And the professional activities is not part of MESCO. You can delay if you want to until 1st January 2025, but 1st January 2025, you must start it. Okay, so this is the minimum wage order that we have heard so far based on the FAQ. So do wait for the final gazetted order for further information. Now, what is MESCO? So later part, you can go to the MESCO website. So it is emesco.mohr.gov.my. So this is taken from there. So MESCO right? There are 10 main classification groups. So you can see there are 10 major groups from group 1 to group 10. So the first group is managers, professionals. The third group is technicians and associate professionals. The fourth group is clerical support. So let's say now, if you have only 2 employees in your company and they are clerical support workers, should you start on first? Can you delay? Okay, maybe let me hear from you all. Can you delay till first? You only have two less than, you do not have 5 employees or more. You only have 2 employees, but the employees, the professional activity is listed here. So should you start on 1st February or you can delay till 1st of August? Anyone? This, you only have 2 employees, not 5 or more. You have 2 employees and the professional activity is listed here. So should you start on 1st Feb? Agreed. So thank you, Nur Farah. You must start on 1st Feb because why? The activity that you guys do are listed here. So thank you for answering. So remember this, when we talk about basic salary, it cannot include fixed allowances because allowances are separate. So basic salary is purely basic salary, gaji pokok, right? Gaji kasar, which normally we include, these allowances, that cannot be included. So basic salary do not include, or you cannot include all your allowances, including fixed allowances, right? It's purely basic salary. So now coming back to the MESCO, these are the 10 professional group. So thank you for some of you who replied. If you have less than 5 employees, but your group is your professional activity listed here, you would have to start on 1st Feb 2025. So it's good to go through this MESCO occupation list just to get better understanding. Okay, so minimum wage order, I just repeat again, 1st February 2025, 5 companies with more than 5 employees, so 5 or 5, 6, 7, 8 or more, you got to start on 1st February. And if your professional activity is listed under MESCO, then it doesn't matter how many employees you have, whether you have 1 or 2 or 3, you would also have to start on 1st February 2025. However, companies that is smaller than 5, that means 1, 2, 3, 4, right? When we say less than 5 means 1, 2, 3, 4. So companies with less than 5, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 employees, and you're not part of MESCO, then you can delay, right? You can delay till 1st August 2025. It is always good to start ahead of time, which is on 1st Feb. But if you're small, financial capability, etc., I think the government understands this and allows these very small companies to delay the implementation till 1st August 2025. So let's wait for the final order to get better clarity. Okay, so this table, the inputs for this table is taken from the recent FAQ shared by the NWCC Council. So we have put it a little bit in color just to see the better, clearer manner. So minimum wages is 1,007. I believe companies do pay in different mechanism. Many of you all listening today, you might be on monthly salary. So if you are given a monthly salary, right, gaji bulanan, then your gaji pokok has got to be 1,700. There are also cases where employees are paid based on daily rate, right? You don't pay them monthly salary, but you pay them daily rate. So if the employee is on a 6-day work, they're working 6 days per week, then the daily rate is 65.38. If it's on 5 days work, the daily rate is 78.46. If they're on 4 days work, the daily rate is 98.08, right? So you can see how the numbers are calculated at the bottom. Now, there are also cases where employees are paid on hourly rate, right? Now, hourly rate would be 8.72 per hour. Now, in which category do companies use hourly rate? Usually when they hire those part-timers, they work, less than, they don't work every day. They come and go, etc. So companies find that paying them on an hourly rate, you work 3 hours, I pay 3 hours. So then you have to follow this hourly rate that you see, right? So this is the minimum wage that will take place on 1st of February 2025. Now, when we look at the past minimum wage order and also the FAQ that was produced recently by the NWCC Council, and it says this: employees, they can be paid on piece rated. That means, for example, you can engage me to work for you to produce this particular gadget or this device, and you pay me, let's say X ringgit per unit I produce, right? That is called piece rated. This also happens in the plantations, right? When they collect the palm oil, they also pay them piece rated. Or you can also pay them in tonnage or task or trip or commission. So in other words, if you're not going to hire somebody on monthly salary, you're not hiring them on daily salary, you're not hiring them hourly salary, you can hire them on piece rated, tonnage, task, trip, or commission. So let me give you one example. So let's say I've got a lorry driver and I don't pay him basic salary, I don't pay him on daily or hourly. I pay him based on number of trips he makes. So let's say he has to deliver a truckload of cement. So he need to deliver the cement, and once he deliver, he come back, I will pay him, let's say, 50 ringgit or 80 ringgit or 100 ringgit per trip. Now, it doesn't matter what mechanism you use, but the employee must be able to earn the minimum wage during the normal hours of work. So in other words, let's say, just for calculation purpose, just for ease of understanding, I'm going to pay the lorry driver 100 ringgit for every trip he completes, right? 100 ringgit. So in a month, in that 45 hours per week, right, in the 26 days per month, or based on the number of days, he must be able to perform, if one trip is 100 ringgit, he must be able to perform at least minimum 17 trips during the normal hours of work on his work days. So if he can complete minimum, 17 trips, so 17 times 100 is 1,007. So that's how it works, right? Or if you're going to employ someone to produce this particular piece and the rate per piece is 1 ringgit, that means this employee must be given the opportunity, or he must be able to earn 1,700 ringgit during his normal hours of work, not OT. Let's say if he's going to work 8 hours per day, 5 days a week, or 7.5 hours per day for 6 days a week, he must be able to earn 1,700 pieces, right? So that's how this mechanism works. Okay, so I repeat again, you can pay an employee on monthly salary, on daily salary, on hourly salary, or you can pay them on piece rated, tonnage, task, trip, or commission. Okay, so let me just run through a little bit on FAQ. So we all know that for NWCC's council, NWCC Council Act, it says this, the wages has the same definition of wages in Section 2 of EA, Section 2 of Sabah Labour Ordinance, and Section 2 of Sarawak Labour Ordinance. And so what you can see on the right, I've just taken EA for sharing today. So this is what you can see in Section 2 of Employment Act. Wages means, right, basic wages and other payments in cash. So there's two components to wages, which is basic salary or basic wages and others. So, there was a question asked earlier on, fixed allowances. Fixed allowances will fall under other payments, right? So basic salary or basic wages is basic salary. So you got to write that down. Basic wages, basic salary cannot include any other thing. You cannot have a condition there. If you come, I pay. If you don't come, I don't pay. That for, yes, if it's for basic salary, if you don't come to work, I don't pay you for today. But when you talk about allowances, you can have condition for allowances, right? So again, I repeat, basic wages is basic salary, and others would be allowances, your incentives, and so on. So do go through this later when you get these slides. And so remember this, under Employment Act includes apprentice contract. However, in NWCC Act, apprentice contract is excluded. So what is happening, or the government did announce recently that they are looking at amending the NWCC Act to include apprentice contract. So till then, they are not yet, but let's wait, let's wait and see how things unfold. Let me run through a bit of FAQs. Now, this FAQ was taken from the previous FAQ that myself and Mr. Toh Siew Pat prepared. So if Mr. Toh Siew Pat is listening in, please, thank you for the slides as well. We did together the last round. So just on the, okay. Okay, so let me run through a bit of FAQs. Now, is minimum wage applicable for those hired under contract for service? Now, we all know contract for service are not employees. Employees will fall under contract of service. So if you hire freelancers, some contractors, some consultants, under contract for service, they are not defined as employees. Therefore, minimum wage is not applicable to them. So minimum wage is applicable for those with contract of service. Does minimum wage apply to Sabah Sarawak? Answer is yes. Are there any industry that is exempted by minimum wage? All industries are covered. It's whether you start on 1st Feb or you start later, right? Or you can delay later. So can you delay the minimum wage implementation? As we have mentioned just now, companies with less than 5 employees, right, and your activity do not fall under the MESCO classification, you can delay until 1st of August. But if you're not, you have to start on 1st February. Now, is minimum wage applicable for contract staff? Let's say we hire somebody on contract. Here we mentioned 2 years. What if somebody on 6 months contract, 1 month contract, 9 months contract, 2-year contract? They're contract. They're not permanent employees. Is the minimum wage applicable to them? Answer is yes. Minimum wage applies to all employees with a contract of service, irrespective whether it's a fixed term contract or a permanent contract, applies to them, right? So as long as you hire an employee, you got to pay them. Does minimum wage apply to those, whether it's the direct labor or indirect labor above 60 years old? Sometimes when employees retire and you still need their services, you re-employ them on a contract, on a one-year contract or a fixed term contract above 60. Do they also apply? Are they also applicable to the minimum wage? Answer is yes. They are also entitled to minimum wage. Why? Because they have a contract of service. So remember this, anyone with a contract of service, minimum wage applies to them. Now, do we need to pay minimum wage for internship? What about interns, right? Now, we all know interns are not employees. They do not have a contract of service. Therefore, minimum wage do not apply. But I think we have heard cases of companies, they decide to pay, even interns minimum wage. That's up to them. That is voluntary, right? But it's not compulsory. Part-time workers, sometimes you bring in part-time workers, let's say in F&B or in retail, weekends, public holiday, there's a lot of customers coming, you hire part-timers. Do you need to pay minimum wage? Now, as long as these part-timers are defined as part-timers, that means they work more than 30% of the full-time hours, they are part-timers. Yes, you have to apply minimum wage. But it can be quite confusing because they're not working full-time. So you can use hourly rate as what I mentioned just now, or if you have another mechanism, you can do so, but they must be able to earn minimum wage if they work full-time. That means they work, 45 hours per week. So we hire people occasionally and they are not permanent. Do we need to comply with minimum wages? Now, it doesn't matter whether they are permanent or contract, because a permanent employee or an employee in a fixed term contract, they are both defined as employee. So if you have an employee who's on a permanent contract, like most of you all are, or a part-timer, or even someone on a part-time employment, etc., as long as they are employees, they have a contract of service, you will need to pay minimum wages. So the category that do not qualify or do not fall under minimum wage would be those casual employees. Got it? Okay. So let me look at the next. For companies in hospitality industry, right? If you're in hotel industry, for example, can you include service points? Because sometimes, you give tips, that is part of the service points. Can this be included in the minimum wage? Again, answer is no. So there was the landmark case of Crystal Crown Hotel versus, Crystal Crown Hotel and Resort versus the National Union of Hotel Bar and Association. Now, in this case, it says that basic wages cannot include service points. Got it? It cannot include service points. Okay. Now, can we restructure salary package and incorporate allowances to bring the basic salary to 1,007? Now, basic salary is basic salary, and other payments are other payments. So now what happens is company says that I'm paying 1,005 today, and there are some allowances here, some allowances there. I want to include all of this to move it up to 1,700. Now, when you do this, you are modifying the contract, right? You're making changes to the contract. Any amendment, any variation to the contract, the employee must agree. So the employee don't agree, you may not be able to do so. Now, I know that, we know of cases where companies ahead of time, they have spoken to employees, they've, lumped in the base, all these allowances to the basic salary. If the employee accept, well and fine. But if employee don't accept it, you can't do it, right? So if you're not sure, I would suggest please seek guidance from the Labour Office. Now, is it acceptable if my employees or your employees are paid lesser than 1,007? Now, it is advisable to follow 1,007. Otherwise, it is a penalty, it's an offense if you don't follow the minimum wage. Can we revise the salary package to 1,007, but cut down on allowances that you're paying today, right? I increase from, let's say, 1.5 to 1.7, but some allowances I'm going to cut. Now, again, these are all employment terms. There's a commitment. It is contractual, right? And you cannot do so. So if you're going to modify, you're going to vary, you're going to make some variation to it, you got to speak to employees and get them to agree, right? So work out a win-win arrangement. Is it sufficient to pay any part-time employees an hourly rate of 8.72 per hour, regardless of hours they work? Now, you can't. As long as a part-time employee, if they work 2 hours, it has got to be 8.72 times 2, right? If you're on hourly rate. Now, if these part-time employees, let's say I employ someone on a part-time, on a part-time basis today, but he end up working full-time, and he works 45 hours per week. He's a part-timer. He works 45 hours per week, and he works all days in the month, right? If it's 26 days, he works 26 days. Now, this part-time employee would be entitled to 1,007. So you do your mathematics. If it's 8.72 times 45 hours per week times the number of days he worked, right? He would be eligible to 1,007. So you cannot pay less if they work. Can we include allowances such as meal allowance, hardship allowance, chemical, maybe attendance allowance to build up the 1,007? Answer is no, because the basic salary is basic salary. Other payments cannot be included into basic salary. Okay. And my company employs workers on piece rate, right? That means we hire someone on piece rate. If I set my piece rate, let's say to produce this 1 ringgit, right? In a month, as I mentioned just now, during his normal hours of work, he must be able to do 1,700 pieces so that he can earn 1,700. And you must give them the opportunity to do so. But if you have given the opportunity, right? Okay, yes, you can produce 1,700 pieces during your normal hours of work, but there are days that this employee don't come to work, do not produce. Therefore, you will not pay him. Similar to basic salary. If you come let's say if your company works 26 days a month, right? If an employee is absent for 2 days, you will not be paying 1,007, right? The basic salary remains 1,007, but he would have 2 days of unpaid leave, right? Or if he's absent, 2 days of no pay, which will deduct from the 1,007. So that's understandable. But as long as the employee is ready to work, you got to provide work for him. And there's another question. This was in the past, so we thought of putting it in. We have drivers who are paid purely on a commission basis. Do we need to segregate basic salary and commission separately? Right? Now, if they are purely on commission, then there's no basic salary, right? So you can either decide, I want to pay someone with basic salary and commission, that is fine, like the sales guys, right? They got basic plus commission. Or if you want to pay someone purely on commission, that's up to you. But the ground rule is this: whether they are on piece rated, tonnage, trip, commission, task based, whatever, etc., they must, as long as they're prepared to work the full hours, they must be able to earn the minimum 1,007. So that's how it works. Okay, so I'll skip the next question. I've already covered that. And right, I've also covered this. So as long as any employee, if they're prepared, they're at work 45 hours per day, let's say 26 days a week, if you're working, 26 days a month, as long as they're there, you got to provide them the job. And as when the job is done, you got to pay them the 1,007. Okay, so it cannot be less than 1,007. So remember this, unless the employee don't come to work, the employee don't perform whatever task he's supposed to do, then he will not be able to earn 1,007. But as long as the employee is given the job, he's prepared to work, he's given the job, he gets his job done, he must be paid 1,007 as per whatever contract that you have with him. Okay, so I think that's about it. I will skip this part. I've already covered. Now, let's talk about penalty. So this was also taken in the FAQ that was produced recently by the NWCC Council. Now, what if I don't follow? Sorry, this is in Bahasa. I just copied and put it here. What if a company forget? You do not follow Perintah Gaji Minima. That means minimum wage order. So Section 43 of the Act says this: if an employer do not follow, the first offense, right, penalty bagi kesalahan pertama, the first offence, a fine not more than 10,000 ringgit for each worker, for each employee. And a general penalty of not more than 10,000 for each offence, right? If let's say the penalty is not stated anywhere. And if you continue doing it, let's say if the company failed to, despite being, found guilty, or, you're not doing it right, they've already told you this, and you still continue doing it, then a daily fine of not more than 1,000, as long as you continue it, right? And if let's say there's a repeated offense, then the fine of not more than 20,000 ringgit, or a jail term of not more than 5 years, right? So remember my first statement. If you think compliance is expensive, try non-compliance. Or in other words, non-compliance is much more expensive compared to compliance. So just follow, right? Just follow. And if you're not clear, right? This was the details of the context given. So if you're not clear on the minimum wage, how it works, etc., these are the various government agencies that you can contact. You can contact the NWCC Secretariat. You can contact the Labour Department, or the Labour Department in Sabah or Sarawak, or even the IR department. So they will be able to give you, much more clarity, guidance as to the ins and outs of the minimum wage. Okay, and so later part when you get these slides, the FAQ from NWCC, I think many of you have got it. If you don't have it, we have saved a copy in Facebook. You can click the link later and get a copy of it. So again, my final advice to all employers is this. Number one, please read the FAQ, quite a detailed FAQ, produced by the NWCC Council. Many of the information that we have shared today comes from that FAQ. Number two, please also wait for the final gazetted order. I'm sure there'll be some other details that will be there. So wait for that. And lastly, if you're not sure, please consult the relevant officers. The address was given behind, or the relevant agencies. Now, do not wait till the last moment. Sometime in January, or then we all run around, how this, that, etc. I would advise companies now itself start making the preparation, right? Start making the preparation, whether it's to reset your pay, to do the setting your payroll system, or you want to discuss with employees how to, manage some of these allowances, etc. Do it now. Do not wait till 1st of February. But remember this, as an employer, we cannot unilaterally, that means without the permission of the employee, without their consent, modify their terms. You can't do that, right? Any contractual terms has got to be agreed by both parties. So if you're going to do anything, absorb certain allowances in, etc., I would suggest that you, discuss with employees and work on a win-win situation. Okay, now let me just cover a little bit on managing compression effect. Now, what do I mean by compression effect? Today, employees who are earning less than 1,007, by 1st February, we have to move all these employees to 1,007, right? Whether he or she is earning 15, 1550, 1590, 1620, 1670, it doesn't matter what they earn. We have to move all of them on 1st of February to 1,007. Now, so those people who are currently earning 1,007, let's say 17, 1720, 175, 18, 19, they will feel a little bit unhappy. Why are those employees who are new earning 17 today, or you're going to hire somebody, let's say we're going to hire a new employee in the month of February, you will have to pay 17. And those who are working for 2, 3, 4 years, they are also earning 17, 18, 19. They'll feel unhappy. So how do you manage this? So if you see my hand, those below 15, we have brought them to, those below 17, we bring them to 17. But people who are 17 today, shouldn't we move them a little bit so that they are not in the same zone, the same salary bracket? Shouldn't we move them? So that's called managing the compression effect. They're compressed. So how do we manage that? Now, firstly is allowances, right? These are all examples and what has happened out there. We know that some companies, they've taken some of the allowances, lump into their base pay, or some will add on first before they move to minimum wage, etc. That is something that you have to discuss with your employees, right? This is something that you should have done prior to this. That is why it's always important. We always advise our members, listen to what we're trying to say. When we say something, ask yourself, hey, does this make sense? Should I look into it? It might be too late to do this, but I believe some of you all would have done it already before the announcement was made. So we're going to share 4 approaches. I won't be able to go through the details. You'll have the slides. You can read it further. But there are 4 ways to manage this compression. Right? I'll go through one by one very briefly. When you have these slides, you can study this further. So the first approach, this is a very simple approach. So you can see at the lower triangle, employees who are earning 1.5 to 1.699, you have to move them to 1.7, like it or not, the minimum salary, the basic salary. So those employees who are earning above 1.7, you could look, this is one example, right? It is not necessary to follow this, but just give you some ideas how to go about it. So those who are earning 1.7 to 1.8, you can move them 200 ringgit, right? You give them a structural adjustment. Sometimes do we use the word increment or adjustment? I would consider, for all these exercises, you call this as a structural adjustment. Increment is always based on their performance, right? So don't get this thing mixed up. Increment is for performance. You want to reward them. So that is called increment. But adjustment, like what we're seeing now, is a structural adjustment because of some structural changes. You got to make this adjustment. So those employees earning 1.7 to 1.8, you could adjust their salary, give them a structural adjustment of 200. Those earning 1.8 to 1.9, you move them by 125 ringgit, and those who are earning 1.9 to 2, you move them 75 ringgit. So then the existing employees who are 1.7, they will be at 1.9. So then you still have the difference. New employees 1.7, existing employees 1.9. Then the issue of fairness, etc., will be probably gone or very minimal, right? So this is one way to do. You go on a stage amount. Now, the second approach is you make a universal adjustment across board. So in other words, everybody gets it. Which people may say, hey, it's not fair, right? Well, this is one option. I'm not saying that this is what you should do. Or the second option is you adjust, you give them an increment based on the performance. So if let's say today somebody who's already earning 1.7 and his performance is very good, you might want to give him probably 300 ringgit adjustment because of performance. But if the employee today earning 1.7, performance so-so, he's not an A performer, not a B performer, but he's a C performer, cukup makan. Now, you might want to say that, I don't want to give you an increment, right? That is your call, right? So you can also do this based on performance. So this was an old example shared by one of the forum members, Moser. So he shared this experience when we were discussing on what are the ways and methods to make this adjustment because of the compression. The third approach looks a bit dizzy, because too many lines and bars and boxes. Now, this is very simple. You give everyone the same amount to move forward, right? So let me just run through one or two lines. So employees on the top bar, right, the top left-hand bar, employees who are earning 1.5 to 1.550, you move them by 200. So here, you're moving everybody by 200. So this is what I call as a fixed amount for everyone. Doesn't matter whether you're a good performer or you're a not so good performer. So this is up to you, right? But of course, when we do this, those good performers will feel there's no difference between me and the other guy who cannot perform, right? So you got to also be mindful of those employees who are your A performers, your B performers, because they have worked hard and they would be waiting to see what else is my bosses, what else is my company going to do for me. So be cautious when you do a standard adjustment for everyone, right? And the last approach is this. You move everybody to 1.7 and you provide merit increment to the high performers I've mentioned just now, right? Those who are already 1.7 but are close to this, now you may not want to do an adjustment for this year because why? In February, your labor cost is going to increase. You've just moved everybody up. Now, I know of examples where the company says that, you know what, I'm not going to do adjustment for 2025. Your annual increment, they're not going to do it. Because why? Everybody's got some increment. So 2025, they may only want to give increment to those who are affected by this based on their performance. So this is another option that you can do. So these are 4 approaches. Approach 4 may sound identical to approach 3 and approach 2, but there are some differences. So when you get these slides, please look at it. Now, if you have any other better method, please share with us in the forum, right? Then we can put it into the FAQ for the next round, right? If you, maybe some of you all may have a different approach, different idea, do share with us. Okay, so that's all for minimum wage. If you have any question, please ask right in the group. I will attempt to answer this later. Now, before you go, some of you all, if you are not going to stay for the next the next topic, which is on Employment Act, because many of you all would have been a Master of Employment Act amendment, right? That's okay. So before you go, I would like to encourage all of you all to consider joining the EA and IR Masterclass, which is, I'm the trainer. And for the first time, we are doing online session. All this while, it's only face to face. You either have to come to KL or Johor once in a while, Penang once in a while. But we don't do Johor and Penang always. Sometimes when we run a class, no numbers, we cancel the class. But KL, it's always done. So for the very first time, we are doing an online session, which is going to happen on 18 and 19 December. The face-to-face will still happen on 9 to 10 December, but the online will happen on 18 to 19. So we will discuss again on the minimum wage during this class in detail. And so these 2 days, the 2 days masterclass would cover the minimum wage, would cover the fundamentals of EA and IR. We also, discuss about how do you set up a performance improvement plan? How do you manage and terminate probationers? How do you manage and terminate employees with medical conditions? Now, what are the shortcuts to managing disciplinary issues? Now, let me ask you this. If you today, you're handling a case, an employee yesterday did not come to work. He was absent. So today, you're going to call this guy to HR and you're going to ask him, why were you absent yesterday? You're probably going to give him the show cause letter and wait for him to reply. And finally, you give him a warning letter. Now, this process, I believe, it may take a few days, maybe a week or two, maybe longer. Now, what if I tell you I'm able to do it in 20 minutes, right? So this is the kind of things that we discuss. Now, how do we, what are the various shortcuts to managing disciplinary issues? Is there any innovative method, some new method to manage, on how do you manage your HR processes? How do you manage performance management? And there's a simple free tool that we give you. What are the various shortcuts, tips to reduce your workload? Now, by attending this masterclass, you can easily reduce your workload by 20 to 30%, right? Then you can start working on, those strategic topics, career planning, succession planning, and whatnot, right? And last but not least, how do you identify the big picture? So do join us. And of course, if you join, there's a typo error there. You will get 45 HR policy templates that you can just edit. You'll get a ready-made employee handbook template and 3 months group support in our WhatsApp group. There's a special WhatsApp group for Masterclass alumni. So if you're interested, scan the QR code or you can email Sophie. Sophie's email address is down there and we will be in touch with you, right? For those of you all who are interested, fully HRDF claimable. Okay, so let me move on to the next topic, which is on the Amendment to Employment Act. Now, this slides was done by Haji Hussein, who's a retired labor director, and myself. This was way back when minimum wage was still, the amendment was still new. So I've taken, quite a bit of slides from there just to run through again today. So now, why was the minimum wage, why was the Employment Act amended, right? One of the reasons why the Employment Act was amended is, to fulfill the conditions of the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, CPTPP, which requires Malaysia to update some of our employment laws to be in line with international standards, right? So in order for us to join the CPTPP agreement. So now we have done that. We are now part of a much larger market. So that means Malaysia have a much bigger opportunity, bigger market, wider market, to grow our economy, right? So that's what you can see on the right-hand side. So we are now part of a US 28 trillion economy because now once you become a member of CPTPP, we are now able to do bigger business, more business with these countries with lesser restrictions. So we all know that the amendment to the Employment Act, the enforcement date was 1st January 2023. We're almost completing 2 years. So I'm sure many of you already know what are these, right? But I think there are some areas that some could be still unsure, unclear. So today we will cover that. Now, prior to the amendment, Employment Act covers those who are earning 2,000 and below and those who are doing manual tasks or those who are supervising employees doing manual tasks. So if you're a HR manager earning 3,000 or 4,000, or if you're a HR or earning 8,000, or if you're a HR exec or a finance exec earning 2,005, in the past, this group was not part of Employment Act. You were not part of Employment Act. But today, anyone with a contract of service, irrespective of their salary, they're all part of Employment Act. So the operator, the technician, the clerk, the engineer, the manager, the senior managers, the directors, as long as they have a contract of service, all of them are part of Employment Act. So in other words, it doesn't matter what you do, what you earn, you have an employment contract or contract of service, you are part of Employment Act. However, the six items that you see on the right hand side, this 6 subsection do not apply to some people, some category. So, for example, if you work on rest day, the ×1, ×2. If you work on public holiday, ×2, ×3. If you work on normal OT, ×1.5. Or if the employee is terminated, the company need to pay termination, layoff benefits. Now, these 6 subsection do not apply to certain category, right? Some of you all may think right now, if you're earning above 4, all this not applicable. Now, that statement may not be complete, right? So let me share with you in a much more easier and understandable format, right? So what you can see is the box on the left hand side, right? That is for those employees engaged in manual labor, those who are operating or maintaining any mechanically propelled vehicle, or those who are supervising or overseeing other employees engaged in manual labor. So this group, right? This group, it does not matter whether you earn below 4 or above 4. As long as you are in this group, right? Manual labor, operate, if you are running some, mechanically propelled vehicle, etc., or if you are supervising another employee who are doing manual labor. Now, this group, irrespective of their salary, they are eligible for all the 6 items: public holiday, overtime, termination benefit, right? This group. Now, then the other employees are people like you, the clerks, engineers, managers, right? Now, you will fall under the category of other employees because you're not a manual labor, right? So you're on the right hand side. You're not supervising manual labor. You're on the right hand side, right? For this group, like most of you all who are listening in today, if the wages is up to 4,000, you will also enjoy overtime pay, rest day pay, and all those things. But if your salary is above 4,000, then you will not enjoy those. That 6 items do not apply to you, right? I hope you got it. Huh? So sometimes when we make a statement, above 4,000, no OT, that is not complete. Remember, if they are manual labor, it doesn't matter whether their salary is 4 or below. They are eligible. So if you have a lorry driver, his job is just drive the lorry the whole day. He's earning 6,000 ringgit. He is eligible for overtime pay. So it is not true, or shall I say it's not completely true or completely accurate to say those employees earning above 4, they do not enjoy overtime, right? So this is a example. I mean, this is a easier to understand table. Now, I would like to just do a bit of test. HR manager earning 2,000, sorry, HR manager earning 3,008, HR manager earning 3,008, would he be in the green box or the red box? Anyone? HR manager earning 3,008, HR manager 3,008, green box or red box? I use green and red, easier to understand. Anyone? Okay, red box. Nope, because title is manager, but the pay is 3,008. So you got to follow the pay, not the title. So Employment Act do not follow title. Title can be misleading. So we follow the salary. So let me give you another example. HR clerk earning 5,000 ringgit. HR clerk, kerani, earning 5,000 ringgit wages. Green or red? Okay, you're right, green. So remember, EA do not follow titles, it follows the task. So now, coming back to minimum wage. So when we talk about wages, it is basic wages and all other payments. There's 2 components. Wages here, when we say wages, is basic wages plus other payments in cash or whatever that you pay, allowances, incentives, and whatnot. Got it? So I hope, this is a better way to understand this. Let me give you one more example. A director of operations earning 3,500, would he be eligible for overtime? A director of operations earning 3,500, would he be eligible for OT? Yes or no? A director earning 3,500, would he be eligible for overtime? Yes or no? Correct, yes. So again, remember, we don't follow titles, we follow the task that they do. So one advice to all of you listening in today, it is high time to review your business title, because you might have an employee carrying the title supervisor, but not supervising people. So he may think, hey, my job as supervisor, I'm eligible for OT. So if a supervisor earning 5,000 ringgit, and he is just doing planning, controlling, that means he plans the inventory, plans the production materials, etc., but he don't supervise, title supervisor, earning 5,000, would he be in the red box or green box? Supervisor, but his job is to plan production. That means he does a lot of planning. What do you think? Earning 5,000 ringgit, supervisor earning 5,000, title is supervisor, earning 5,000, but his job is doing planning. Would he be eligible for overtime? Okay, you're right. Answer is no. So remember this, we don't follow titles, we follow what they do. So my advice to all of you all today, to avoid confusion, to avoid dispute, revise your business title, especially those people who are supervisors, technicians. Some of them were technicians, but they're no longer doing technician's job. Now they're doing procurement. They purchase parts. Now that is no longer a manual task, right? So if they're still carrying the title technician, earning 5,000, they may have the idea that I'm eligible for overtime. My input would be no, because you are not doing, you do not fall under the green box. So please revise your business title to make it up to date, and do this every 2 years. Now, let me just run through a couple of amendments, then we go for the Q&A. So apprentice contract, remember this, in Employment Act, apprentice contract are part of Employment Act. But in the NWCC Act, which governs the minimum wage order, apprentice is not included. So apprentice, but again, there's, the government did announce that they are planning to revise it. So let's wait for the news. But as for now, apprentice contract, the minimum has got to be 6 months now, and the maximum is 2 years, 24 months. And, this formula, I think many of you all know it. If an employee did not complete the full month, he may have joined early, joined late, or he leaves the company earlier, or he may have taken leave because of national service, for example, or he took unpaid leave, right? Leave for absence without pay, unpaid leave for 1 day or more. So what is the formula that you use? So this is the formula, right? I think many of you already know this. And pregnancy. So, and a female employee who's pregnant today, right? In the past, before 1st January 2023, when a female employee goes for maternity, is 60 days. But today, it is 98 days. So why 98 days? Why not 95, 92, 90? Why 98? Because ILO's recommendation is 14 weeks. So 14 times 7 is 98, right? So that is on maternity. And basic hours, it was 48, it is now 45, right? I think many of you all know it. But just to let you know, ILO's recommendation for reduction of work hours is 40. Okay, so anyway, for now, we are at 45. And service leave and, sick leave and hospitalization leave, in the past, before the amendment, the 14 days or the 18 days or the 22 days was part of the 60. That means in total, prior to the amendment, the max for sick leave and hospitalization leave is 60 max. But now the sick leave and hospitalization leave are separated. So today the employee enjoys 14 plus 60, 18 plus 60, 22 plus 60, right? So what is the definition of sick leave? Some of you all may say, sick leave means if you're not well, doctor gives you an MC, you rest at home. That's true. But you also have cases where employees consider sick leave as cuti tahunan tambahan because why they abuse it. So you also need to have a mechanism to prevent abuses, right? Because I know employees are complaining, wow, now the maternity has increased, paternity, flexi work, sick leave and hospitalization have become more, we cannot manage, etc. So, well, these are all provided by the law, we have to follow, but you always need to watch out for abusers, people who abuse these leaves. Now, I forgot to mention this statement. Maternity allowance, right? Whatever that you pay them during the maternity period. Now, that allowance, it is also applicable to foreign workers. Paternity leave also applicable to foreign workers. Why? Because Employment Act covers local and foreign, permanent, contract, part-time, all are covered, right? So, maternity allowance, foreign workers are also eligible. Now, you may ask me this, maternity allowance, you mean I have to pay salary and allowance? Answer is no. During maternity, they are not working, therefore they don't earn salary. Salary is paid when you work. So they're not paid salary, but they are paid an allowance which is equal to the salary. So some of you all may say paid maternity, unpaid maternity. So to me, this is just a definition issue. But as long as you pay them whatever they were earning before, you're okay. So paternity, 7 days, 7 consecutive days for each confinement, right? Now, female employees, they follow number of living child, but for husband, they follow confinement, right? It's a bit technical to explain now, but if you go to Facebook, we have given about 7 scenarios just to test whether you understand how to qualify for maternity. Okay, anyway, now coming back to paternity, it is 7 days and is restricted to 5 confinements only. And it does not matter how many spouses, the employee has. So a married male, he's got to be married, and as long as he has worked for you for 12 months, he is eligible for the paternity leave if the wife delivers. Now, so in your policy, you cannot put conditions like must be confirmed. Most confirmation process, could be a couple of months or maybe 7, 8, 9 months. But if let's say if your confirmation delays, for some reason is delayed, and he has served 12 months and the wife delivers, he is eligible. So remember this, when you put conditions which is not in line with EA, your conditions tak boleh diguna pakai lah. And section 60K, the old section has been substituted with this new section. I just want to highlight one item, which is the item in red. It says this, no employer shall employ a foreign employee, whether it's an expatriate or laborer, unless prior approval has been obtained from the Director General of Labour Department. So if any employer were to hire a foreign employee without prior approval, the offense is very heavy. It is a maximum of 100,000 ringgit fine or a jail term or imprisonment of not more than 5 years or both. So it's a very heavy offense. So remember this, compliance is cheaper than non-compliance. And what has been introduced also is flexi work arrangement. And I think many of you all may not be aware. I think quite recently, the Labour Department has produced a guidebook, a guidance for flexi work arrangement. I would encourage you to download it. Quite a bit of details are given. Some guidance how to manage it, a sample form, etc. So I would strongly encourage you to download a copy of the flexi work arrangement guidebook or guideline by Labour Department. So anyway, coming back to the amendment, it says this, an employee may apply to you as an employer to modify the hours of work, days of work, place of work, right? So in other words, if the employee says that, boss, I want to work, can I change my days? Can I change my hours? So he may apply to you, but final say is still you. So as an employer, your role, when an employee applies, within 60 days, you got to inform him or her, yes or no. If it's a yes, it's good news. But if it's a no, you need to explain to them, give them a reason why you rejected it. So that you must do it, right? If you don't do, then it's an offense. So you must do. So you got to tell them. Remember this, with the recent amendment, the maximum penalty is 50,000 ringgit, right? So of course it can be lower, but maximum is 50,000. So if you are not saying yes to them, you got to let them know why. So that is flexi work arrangement. Now, some of you all, you may have designed your flexi work arrangement policy, but I believe in most cases, the flexi work arrangement policy is inadequate. Why? Because there's a couple of items that you may not have covered. For example, you know, recall back to work, right? If the employee is on a long work from home, company, if there's an emergency, company should have the right to call them back. So all these conditions must be spelled out, and the employee must agree to all these conditions when you approve their work from flexi work, for example, if it's work from home in this case. Or, you know, if the employee, you know, origin from Sabah, and you have given him or her 3 months of work from home, so he decides to go back to Sabah. What happens if you need him to do a sudden business travel to go and meet the client in Johor? Your company is in KL, need to go to Johor. Now he's going to tell you, boss, I'm in Sabah, you know. How? My flight ticket. So in your policy, you also need to define the arrangement during business travel. So it is always safer to tell the employee that the point of origin shall always be from the office. They may go to Sabah, Sarawak, or wherever, but if you need them to go, they have to come back at their own cost. So all this has got to be specified. I believe many of you all, you may have overlooked this, right? You got to put this thing in. So anyway, go to the forum. Later, you know, I will share you the link as well. Download a 6-page work from home policy, flexi work arrangement policy. Very comprehensive. Have a look at it. If there's any gap with your current policy, update it. If there's something that you have which is interesting, let us know so we can upgrade or update our policy and share it with the members. Now, this is a simple, you know, you got to design your FWA metrics. This is a simple way to design. You look at your number of, what are the occupations that you have, the list of positions you have, whether you can change the place of work, hours or days of work. Now, if it's a yes, now how do you do next? What's your next? For example, days of work. How do you modify it, right? How do you vary it? So you must do, you know, this. Because if you don't do, your employees may want flexibility because they heard their friends in other companies are having flexibility. If you don't provide, they are going to move on. Everybody wants to work. Everybody wants to have flexi work, right? So some of you enjoy it, but some don't. So they will feel disappointed. Why others can, I can't. But another company, for the same position I'm working, they have some flexibility. So thank you, boss, for your job. I'm going. See you, sayonara. You can hire somebody else. And the other element, a new section 69F, which is on discrimination of employment. So here it says that if there is any dispute, I mean, there's a discrimination practices, employees unhappy, he may also bring this up to the labor department. And if the DG makes an order, makes an order, and a company fails to comply, then the maximum fine is going to be 50,000 ringgit. And if this case continues, the offense continues, a daily fine, of not more than, let me see, will not exceed 1,000 ringgit, as long as the offense continues, right? Remember, compliance is cheaper than non-compliance. Now, so you must be able to manage this internally. So it is important to set up a grievance management procedure. It is important to set up a non-discrimination procedure. So all these policies has got to be put in place. Not just putting up a policy, but you got to put up a policy. You also need to educate your managers how to handle situations, right? How to handle situations. If you hear of, what do you call this, favoritism, right? Because of that, the supervisor discriminate. I will give you, I won't give her. Now, they will feel unhappy. Or, for example, 2 employees apply for work from home. Let's say 2 clerks apply for work from home. Both have got a laptop. Both are doing similar job, same job grade. But you approve one work from home, but you don't approve the other. So the other employee may feel discriminated. Why she can, I can't. Or why he can, I can't. Now, he may ask you, if you're not able to give him a reply, he will probably take this to the authorities, right? So always have your internal mechanism to manage this and manage it, right? Again, go to the forum. There is a comprehensive grievance management policy in the forum, and there's also a comprehensive grievance management form. How do you manage your grievance? In the forum, download it, modify it, use it if you don't have one. And sexual harassment, this is quite easy, quite straightforward. Now, Section 81 is a new Section 81H, says that an employer at all times, you must exhibit, you must mempamerkan conspicuously, that means in a place where everybody can see it, a notice to raise awareness on sexual harassment. Now you got to do it. If not, a fine not exceeding 50,000 ringgit. That's a lot of money, right? So if you have not done so, go to the forum. There are 9 sample notices or posters. You can download it, print it, put it up, right? You can use it. And if you have good ones, please share in the forum as well so other members can use it. Forced labor. So this is something interesting as well. So one of the reason of the amendment is to include the forced labor provision. So the forced labor provision says that any employer who threaten, deceive, forces an employee to do any activity or service, or you prevent them from leaving the place of work or area of work. Now this can be deemed as forced labor, and if it's proven, right, if you're guilty, the penalty is also quite heavy. A fine not exceeding 100,000 ringgit. So it's maximum 100, it can be lower, but max 100,000 ringgit, and a jail term of not more than 2 years or both. So it's a very heavy offense. And I think some of you all would know, 2 years ago, or I think about 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, the Malaysian government has signed the Forced Labor Convention, treaty at the ILO. So in other words, Malaysia agrees to follow the there are 11 indicators of forced labor. So please also have a read. I will share the link later in the FAQ slides. So please have a read to know what exactly is forced labor, right? Okay. Now, general penalty, that means if any other offenses which is not stated, used to be 10,000 ringgit maximum, now it is 50,000 ringgit maximum. So it's a very heavy penalty. So, moral of the story is just comply, right? No if, no but, just comply. Okay, and a new section 101 has been introduced. So here, it basically says this, presumption. Who is an employee, who's an employer? So let's say now, there is no contract of service, the contract of service is absent. Now, how do we determine whether this person is an employee and you are the employer? So what it says under this section, if, his work, the manner of work is controlled by another person, you control their work, you control their hours. They want to go, they must apply leave, right? You control the hours. And you give them the tools, materials, or equipments to carry out the job. And whatever that he or she does is a very important part, an integral part of your business. And he's only doing this for you. This job is only performed for you. And whatever money that you pay is a major part of their income, right? So in this case, it can be presumed that you are the employer and he's the employee. Now let me give you another example, which is not an employer. Let's say in KL, we have a lot of corporate towers. There's a cleaner. And this cleaner, what he or she does, they've got many clients. So I will go to company A, I will do cleanup, throw rubbish, wipe the table, clean the table, etc. for 2 hours. I finish, I go to company B, finish, I go to company C, finish, I go to company D. And I do this every day, every week. Now, are you controlling their work? No. Are you controlling their movement? No. Are you controlling their hours of work? They must apply leave? No. Is he only working for you? No. Whatever that you pay him is part of his job. It's a very important part of the job. You are in software development. You are in services. Cleaning is not your integral part of your business, right? So chances are he or she is not an employee. You are not an employer. So I hope you can see the difference, right? Sometimes when we hire freelancer and we ask them to work full time, we control them, they must apply leave, and they're only working for you, and whatever you pay is their salary, their income. Now, be careful of this arrangement. Sometimes we try to circumvent the law, but I always tell others, the law is always smarter than us. Okay, so I think that's all. That's all for now. So I will share these slides with you. There are many more. These are all FAQs for the minimum wage. It's a lot to cover. I believe some of you all may have attended the previous seminars. So please read all these, different scenarios on maternity, right? What do I do if this scenario, that scenario, paternity, right? So these FAQs will help you to better understand the amendment and some provisions of EA and Employment Act, right? Paternity, wages, shift allowance, how do you calculate wages for unpaid leave, flexible arrangement, what should I do if it's like this, if it's like that, right? Work hours, right? There are some links there you can see. Click the link to learn more. And then you have got break time. Is break time part of work hours? Break time is not part of work hours, right? Section 60A9 says so. Overtime, how do I manage scenarios? What if it's like this? What if it's like that, etc. Right? So those are things. Sorry, I forgot to put my phone in mute. Okay, so what are those? Overtime, right? I've shared this table just now, but a much more better table with more inputs, right? So please read all of this. How do you calculate ORP, HRP? So please read all of this for you to better understand, right? Wages, how do you define? So how do you determine the 4,000 ringgit? This table will help you, right? What you need to include, what you shouldn't include, etc. Forced labor, remember forced labor, these are some of the links. Now, there's one particular documentation produced by MEF and ILO, which I think is a very good document for guidance to Malaysian employers. What is forced labor? Read it, right? You'll find it very useful. The link is there as well. Please read it. Download. So these are forced labor, contractor, and all of these things, right? So I hope you can download, read this FAQ to deepen, to better understand the provisions of EA, right? Okay, so now again, I would like to repeat, those of you all, if you have not joined the masterclass, you must join at least once for you to have a better understanding on the overall picture, some, tips, techniques, tools, strategy, right? Shortcuts, and, how to do it one time. What are the two base activities? If you can do these two things, all your people issues basically can resolve it. So we will discuss this in a 2-day Power Pack Masterclass. So do join us if you can, and I will see you then again. So let me pick some of the questions, right? Let me pick some of the questions. Okay, just give me a second. Okay. So the link for the poster is go to the Facebook community in HR forum in Facebook. You type sexual harassment poster, the poster will appear. There are two posters. One is 6 pages, one is 3 pages. Useful. Okay, let me just pick up some of the questions that you asked. So we have a couple of minutes left. So this webinar will be is recorded, will be saved in the forum. So whenever you want to watch it, you can go to our LinkedIn page, our YouTube channel, or our Facebook to, watch this recorded webinar again. Slides will be, we will not email the slides to you, but when you get a, email later, the link to the slides will be provided, so you can download it. Okay, I don't see much questions. Okay, just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. Okay, yes, okay. So thank you. So I'm going to answer as many questions as I can. We have got 10 minutes left, but not to worry, because you can still go to the forum and ask this or join us in the masterclass. Okay, there's a question by Noor Zakia. May I know, for apprentice contract, how does it differ from normal contract? Now, the contract is identical, right? Wages and whatnot, etc. But those apprentice contract, these are people who come to learn while they work, right? And minimum is 6 months, maximum is 2 years. Now, there are also companies, they may hire people to come and learn and work, but they give them a permanent contract. That's up to you. But apprentice contract, if you register this contract with Labor Department, section 10 to 16 of EA do not apply to them. So after 2 years, right, you hire an apprentice contract and this is registered, that means it's official. After 2 years, the training is over, their job is over, right? Do you need to pay termination benefit? You don't have to. So do check this out, right? Section 10 to 16 do not apply to them because they are here to work and at the same time earn some money. Okay, so this is okay, let me answer this question. National service has an issue. People was discussing, how do someone earning for the whole family expenses survive during national service? Well, you see, for the employer, remember this, can we deduct wages during national service? Anyone? Do you all know, can we deduct salary during national national service? I will maybe keep that for your answer first. Okay, let me go on to the others. Okay, if the allowances paid to employees is indicated in the employee handbook, not letter of employment, can we incorporate? To me, I think this is something very risky because when you start giving allowances, it form either, even if you return employee handbook, but it becomes an implied condition of employment. So I don't think you can do that, but please get this checked, right? Please get this checked. Once the employee has been getting it, right, whether it's written or not, it becomes implied. You may have written it, but to me, it becomes implied. Okay, internship and apprentice, they are not the same. Internship are not employees, right? They come for a few months, 3 or 4 or 5 months, as part of the diploma or degree, finish, they go. Whereas apprentice, they are considered employee because in the definition of EA, those with contract of service, it includes apprentice contract. So there's a question by Si Hui. Will the minimum wage affect employees whose monthly salary is more than 1,007? For example, 3,000. Well, in my view, if they are far away from the 1,007, right? If you're 3,000, 4,000, they will not feel it. Those who will feel the effect are those people, of course, below 1,7, you have to move them. But those who are in, this is my opinion, those who are earning 1,7 to about 2,000 to 2,003, they will feel the pinch. They will feel the, they not feel the pinch, but they will feel it because they will say that I'm earning 2,000. I've been working for 7 years, for example, or 8 years, but the guy who just joined is earning 1,7. So you mean you only give 300 difference? So those who are earning close to 1,7, they will feel the impact. So the termination, so there's a question from Nor Zakia. The termination benefit, is it the same when company closed down? Yes, there's only one formula, right? One formula in EA, which is 10 days if you're working less than 2 years, 15 days if you're working from 2 to 5 years, and 20 days if you're working more than 5 years. That's provided by EA. But we know some companies, those who can afford, they pay more than that. Some will pay 1 month per year of service. There are some that pays 1.5 months per year of service, etc. But EA's guideline is 10 days, 15 days, 20 days. Okay. And minimum wage, EA amendment, everything, right, that we've discussed today applies to also foreign workers. So even minimum wage applies to foreign workers because EA do not distinguish EA and local and foreign. It applies to all local and foreign workers. Okay, so there's a question by Aimi Ng. Would this also apply to independent directors who receive monthly allowance? Now, I won't be able to comment from this angle, but where I would comment is if this independent director, if he or she is an employee, if he or she has a contract of service, minimum wage, EA applies to them, right? So Aimi, you got to check whether this independent director, chances are not, but you got to check whether he or she has a contract of service. This only applies to those people who are defined as employee. Okay, there's a question by Laila regarding overtime. Regardless of office hours or retail shop assistant, the formula is the same. I mean, EA has only one formula, right? Yeah, you're right. The ORP divides 26 divide 8 applies to every industry, everybody. So there's no different formula for different industry. Only one formula. Okay. Any other questions from anyone? I mean, I'm not able to see the others. Okay, yeah, there's one or two more. Okay, do we deduct statutory for foreign workers once 1,007 implemented? Well, now we all know foreign workers, there's an element that is a SOCSO payment you got to make. Right now, no EPF. And if they're 1,007, tax also is not applicable to them unless if they are newcomer for the first 6 months because they're not yet a tax resident. So otherwise, you just follow whatever the law says. So if tomorrow the government, remember we heard about the Prime Minister announcing foreign workers would also need to pay EPF. Now, if at all that materializes, then yes, you will need to deduct EPF from their salary. So let's wait for the announcement. Right now, we all do not know how much, what is the mechanism. So let's wait. If the government announces that certain amount has got to be deducted from the worker's salary, then yes, you got to deduct. But at this moment, we do not know yet. Okay, so Patrick asked a very interesting question, right? A very, very interesting question. If the allowance only applicable or only applies for local workers, but not to foreign workers, can foreign workers file a complaint of discrimination? Now, let's say, I mean, we all know sometimes we pay bonus to locals, but we don't pay bonus to foreigners because we think we have this idea foreign workers are expensive. I got to pay for levy. I got to pay for flight ticket. I got to pay for maybe you're paying for MEMA and whatnot. So they are so expensive. So I'm not going to give them bonus. I'm not going to give them, let's say, allowances. Now, so we all know because foreign workers, this is my personal opinion. Foreign workers in Malaysia, many of them do not know their rights. They just work, whatever they get, they keep quiet, they work, they go home. But there was a case, you might want to check this out. There was a group of foreign workers who took Goodyear, right? This is a public case. They took Goodyear to industrial court because they were not given certain allowances that the local employees were getting, the unionized employees were getting. So the case went to industrial court, and I think industrial court ruled in favor of the employees, and the company had to pay the workers, these foreign workers, certain amount of money because the allowance is not paid. So Patrick, I would encourage you to check out the case of Goodyear Tire. Check them out. Right? It's in Facebook. I think you can also Google this. Okay, Aimi, another question. If the staff has resigned on November 2024 and we found out they have unpaid leave, this shall deduct 26 or 30 days. Unpaid leave, you divide calendar, you divide 30. If it's 30, you divide 30. Because why? If they're paid on a monthly basis, they are paid for every day, right? The formula is there, right? You divide the number of days in the wage period, right? So you decide. I mean, there's no month. I don't think any wage period is 26 days. Wage period is normally 30, 31, or in the month of February could be 27, could be 28 or it could be 29, right? The formula is there. You divide by number of days in the wage period. Okay. So now this is a very interesting one as well. Foreign workers, they may not be able to go back during paternity leave. So can we compensate them the 7 days, to other types of benefit when they request to work? Because foreign workers normally they do not go back. Sometimes they may go back for a couple of months, they come back, they will not go back again for the next few years, right? So what happens to this? And let's say the foreign worker went back 9 months ago, and now the wife delivers, and wife delivered. He tells you, boss, my wife delivered. So cuti macam mana, boss? Right? In my view, he's eligible because EA did not say foreign workers. No, it says that a married male. He's married male. So what do you do? So I can give you one example of what one company does. So what this company do, they have allowed the employee to apply to preserve this leave to use it when he go back 2 years time, right? So you can explore this, but please also get guidance from Labor Department if this is okay or not okay. So do check with them. So in other words, they allow them to preserve this leave to use it when they go back the next time. Okay, so let me see if there's any relevant ones. I know you all have asked a lot of other things, but let me see if any other relevant ones. Okay, lah. There's two person who asked this question, not relevant to our discussion today, but let me attempt to answer this. Can you force an employee to take no pay leave because of health reason? MC finish, right? MC finish, but come to work because MC already finished. So to me, if the MC has been fully utilized and they continue to be on sick leave, it becomes unpaid leave, right? So they shouldn't come to work because they're not well, right? It becomes unpaid leave. But what happens if the employees still want to come to work? They are on leave, they still want to come because they got no more sick leave. Then to me, right, this is something that you have to manage it well. If the employee has got to come back at their own, we cannot, cannot be responsible for them. But please also look into the affairs of others. If they are not well, right, as an employer, remember, we are supposed to ensure that the workplace is safe for all employees. So do take note of this. Do you want to allow them to come or not? Now, some cases, companies also do have prolonged illness leave. If they qualify, you can give them unrecorded leave. So that is something that you can decide. Now, even though the law says that sick leave is 14 days, but the law never told us that we cannot give more than 14 days, right? It says you cannot give less than 14, but the law EA never told us cannot give more. Okay, may I know if female employee who's not married, are they entitled for maternity leave and maternity allowance? My answer is yes. Why? Because EA did not say a married female. So female, it did not say married, but for male, it says a married male. Right? So male, mesti kahwin. Female, not married, the law is silent. So in other words, whether they're married or not, if they deliver a child, they're eligible for maternity allowance. But for the husband, he must be a married male. Right? Do compare these two provisions. Okay. So there's a suggestion actually from Suhaiza. Some other foreign workers agree to preserve these 7 days, right? So that they can use it, to be paid in cash when they go back. Is this possible? Now, my view is this: if the employee requests for it and in writing and you're okay with it, I don't see an issue. But do check with Labor Department if this is possible. But instead of paying them later, why not you pay them now? Instead of paying them in cash later, why can't you just pay in cash now, right? Okay, so I think that's all for now. It is 12 o'clock. I believe you all are, probably waiting for lunch. So do enjoy your lunch. But just before you go, thanks a lot for listening in today. So these slides, we will email you, not the slides, right? You'll get an email from us with the link to download these slides. It's very heavy slides, right? You'll get the email link to download the slides. So download it and please study it. For those of you all, if you are interested to join the masterclass, please scan the QR code that you see or email Sophie. Do join. You got to join this class at least once, right? There's tons of materials. By joining this class, you will get almost 100 editable templates of letters, forms, policies, and whatnot, right? Which will be very useful in you trying to, if you want to improve what you already have today, and learn the big picture, learn how to resolve your issue once and for all, how to avoid this, how to avoid that, and many other things, right? Today's Power Pack. So do join us. So thank you for joining us today. So we hope this, the last 1 hour and about 1.5 hour seminar webinar has been useful to you. But again, remember, for the minimum wage, the final order or the minimum wage order, the gazette order has not been issued yet. What we have now is only the FAQ. So please also wait for the order, because the order, I believe, will have more information and so on. So in the meantime, if you are not sure of anything, please speak to the Labor Department or the IR Department or the Sabah Labor Ordinance Department, Sabah JTK or Sarawak JTK, for further clarity. So with that, thank you so much. And don't forget to download the copy of NWCC's FAQ and read the FAQ. It's quite a detailed FAQ as well. Please read that as well to better understand what is going to happen with the minimum wage that is going to take place next year. So thank you and all the best. See you soon.
to congratulate Malaysia HR Forum for putting up this wonderful place, and all those people who behind Malaysia HR Forum. Congratulations to you. First of all, I am very privileged and honored to be here this evening. The reason I come here today because I want to give a strong endorsement that the only way forward for the country to progress and the industry to prosper is by learning development. Training centers like this is very important. They are very low cost, high impact centers. And the grants I see is very pleasant, it's very nice. It's maybe not the 5-star standard in terms of the facilities, but in terms of the services, I think I'm sure knowing Arul and the team, they will cater better and bigger than the 5-star services.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank Malaysia HR Forum for organizing this AHRP program. I'm also very thankful for the chance to meet many wonderful like-minded people here throughout the program.
Okay, so I also remember about the advice from the CEO of Malaysia HR Forum, which is Mr. Arulkumar. He always says about AKS, attitude, knowledge and skill.
So first job, don't berkira-kira, work hard. The first 10 years of your working life, and what I've said the other day, the first 10 to 15 years of working life, it's all about hard work. So first job, grab what you can first, take it up, build your experience, build your competencies, learn the skills that you don't have today. The time will come when something will tell you that it is time to move on.
So you have to remember that having qualification doesn't really guarantee you a job, but it can land you with one. But for you to continue climbing the ladder, it's all about skills. And when we talk about skills, of course, not just soft skill, communication, writing, but relates to what you're doing.
What happened between that time until now? I never quit, never lie, and I never want to be somebody other than myself. So if you're a boring person, be boring. If you're an animated person, make sure that animation comes out. And if you're a person that is shy, so be it. The moment you lie, the moment you say you know things and you don't, that's when you won't get the job. At that rate, by the time you are 30, you're going to be having a salary of 7,000 ringgit. Congratulations. But 7,000 doesn't cut it in KL. Learn, continuously improve yourself. This AHRP paper is one of them. Continue to add stuff in your CV.
As a HR professional for many years, the AHRP program, the quality of candidate that we see today, they are well equipped with the confidence, the knowledge and skills of HR, what is it to be a HR person, and all of them coming from other background.
I'm very thankful for Malaysia HR Forum by giving us this opportunity to interview some candidates that they have trained in a 5-day program, and they also filtered the candidates based on their own requirements. And I would say that this is a fresh batch of candidates for us to interview. So it was good, and in a couple of days we will shortlist some candidates and hopefully to organize a second interview with them.
When I first saw it, I thought it was a really good idea to bring candidates together with a specific specialization, which is why I wanted to participate because I've got HR needs that I'm looking for. So it was a good platform for me to meet a good pool of candidates who have a certification that I can work with. Some of them are meeting expectations. As an organization, I'm looking more towards the ability to communicate, looking at critical thinking, character and motivation of the people. So I think for the most part, I've met good people today.
Overall, it's a good experience to participate this HR recruitment day, and I think it's a very meaningful event that helps the fresh graduates out there to have the employment opportunity. Overall, I find the session very fruitful, and we managed to get a few good candidates, and we are going to shortlist for the second interview with our company.